let's just take a look at the situation as far as what the orders of the Election Commission have been, and X, or Twitter, which has now taken down a couple of posts. I'm joined by Mahima Singh of the Congress, Vineet Goenka, the former national co-convener of the IT cell in the BJP. He's a political analyst. Mohammad Amin, former joint director-in-chief of protocol at the Election Commission of India. Pranesh Prakash, who studies this as an independent tech policy researcher, and Khushbu Jain, who's an advocate in the Supreme Court, focuses on tech and cyber laws. Thank you all very much for being with us. Dr. Mohammad Amin, let me come to you first. Was there really anything so objectionable in those tweets that they needed to be taken down?
Actually, the Election Commission has given the order to the X, as you know. So in that respect, they have already taken back an invitation. They have already taken back. Within India, they cannot show. But otherwise, internationally, you can see on their net. As under Section 324 article, Election Commission has full power to
about the powers,
action.
and I'm not questioning the rights, or at least not so far the rights of the Election Commission. I'm only asking you, Dr. Amin, whether you believed that there was anything which was so offensive in those tweets that it needed to be taken down. This in a country where virtually every third tweet online, particularly during election season, is deeply objectionable. What was so objectionable about those things? There were random allegations which keep being made.
No. Actually, everything is done by the commission. So commission has made me observe for that. That's why they have given the instructions to take
I
down.
know the commission has done it. I'm asking you if you think the commission was correct on the basis of the content of those tweets.
Yes.
You think it was correct? Why do you believe that the decision was correct, sir?
Yes, of course.
Dr. Amin, why do you believe that the decision was correct?
Actually, this was seen by the full commission, and the full commission has their decision. So I cannot say anything about that.
Okay, all right.
As per law.
All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. Mahima Singh, spokesperson of the Congress, without necessarily focusing only on the censorship versus freedom of speech argument, which is a broader argument, just in terms of the content of those tweets, was there anything necessarily that objectionable, in your opinion, that needed to be pulled out, particularly at a time when there is so much of hate messaging on Twitter, which is still out there?
Jai Hind. Vishnu, I think the government has actually, indicated towards its own fear. It has told us how petrified it is
But
today.
this is not the government, it's the Election Commission, Mahima.
You see, election, we all know by now, Vishnu, and that is what our fight is, that all these institutions, because when it comes to taking the credit, the Prime Minister says he is the one who has taken all the actions. He is the one who has eliminated corruption. So if the Election Commission is taking such a step at this moment, number one question is, why are they reducing this festival of democracy, which is supposed to be, which the world is watching curiously, to something to tediously comment on by the whole world. The whole world is looking at us, and Twitter is telling us today, is showing the mirror to the Election Commission that if you do not practice transparency with your people, then we shall. The other part is, Vishnu, that one of these tweets actually contained, contents about the electoral bonds, the unconstitutional electoral bond scheme. It called it a Vasuli racket. What is so wrong about it? I think so many citizens are also calling it that, because that is what it is. It is very clearly indicative of the government's false practices that prevailed over the whole discourse for so many years.
No, but Mahima, I take your points, but just the first part of what you said, can you clarify? Are you suggesting that the government of India has a say in how the Election Commission of India operates? Because that's what you seem to suggest. Is that the position of the Congress?
Are we not very clear that the Income Tax Department, the Enforcement Directorate,
Election
the
Commission.
Election Commission of India have not been exercising their autonomy, their, I would say independence as they should have. We have been questioning it as a united opposition, the independence of these institutions. It evidently is compromised. And in this act, when the BJP leaders asking votes in the name of religion, asking votes in the name of war marchers are not being asked to be taken down, are not being acted upon, but the opposition's tweets, which indicate to the unconstitutional actions of the
No, but
government,
there is a
are being
BJP
asked to be
leader's
taken
tweets
down.
which
Of
were
course,
also flagged. Mahima, there's a BJP leader's tweets which were also flagged by the Election Commission. The Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar's
but
tweets were flagged.
flagged. But what was done about that?
No,
What is
no,
being
it
done
was
about
all
those
taken
tweets?
down. Now, I'm asking you whether that's right or wrong, but it's not. If you are suggesting, Mahima, that the government is influencing the Election Commission, then are they influencing the Election Commission against their own leaders?
Vishnu, when the Supreme Court ordered three election commissioners of the election commission to be in choosing in the ECI appointment order, what the Supreme Court said was totally bypassed by the government. In that action itself, the government has raised eyebrows on its independence.
As I mentioned, there's one of the tweets taken down is of a BJP leader. But let me just go across to Vineet. Vineet, how do you see Mahima's arguments, and do you believe, on the larger point, that there was anything that objectionable in any of these tweets that needed to have been taken down by the EC?
Vishnu, Ram Ram to you, Ram Ram to all my co-panelists and all the viewers who are watching me, and let me also wish them on the occasion of Ram Navami. The world's largest democracy, and we have seen that in the last 7 decades, barring the 2.5 years of emergency, we have been a very responsible democracy. Free and fair elections, change of power without a bullet being shot. Now, this democracy runs because we have free and fair election commission. Election commission also looks into details and micro details. And I think everybody has to respect when election commission comes out with some requests, some orders, and some instructions. And who is X? They are a company which is working with, which are exploiting the Indian market for their own benefit. They rather follow the dictates, the orders of the election commission. I would rather urge through your channel to the election commission, if they don't follow the instruction, they should be punished. Whatever is the provisions in the law, whether it is financial penalty or otherwise, should be done. We have seen in the X, while there was other management, they had interfered in the US elections. We also have seen incidences like Cambridge Analytica by other social media channels. Social media companies can play their roles in this democracy, and I think they should be responsible. It is 2024. In my past, I had written a book called as Data Sovereignty, The Pursuit of Supremacy. And if you see, we have mentioned this particular part. You have in your channel right now, Kushbu Jain, who represented me in fighting one of the cases like that in the Supreme Court. And we also had a case directly with X, where we had objected on certain tweets.
So you have no problem with what the EC ordered. So that's the key point.
Let me make my distinction.
Go ahead.
My decision. Whether that EC should have ordered to remove that or not, that is our internal issue. Where you, I, political party X, Y can debate, discuss, go to court, they can make representation to EC. That is our own Indian problem. It's our own discussion. Who is X not to follow the instructions of an authority of the government, which is right now taking decisions?
But they have followed them.
They should follow that. Very well, jolly well do that.
But they have followed them, and they have invoked their own democratic freedom of speech and said that we disagree, and that's all they've done.
They can do that anywhere. They should rather stop preaching us, because this is the government, this is the country which has given free and fair elections over the period. I have seen 2 hand of powers. Atalji losing and giving power to Manmohan Singh ji, and then I saw with the same smile, Manmohan Singh ji handing it over to Modi ji. This is a country which has never seen violence in change of powers, unlike US, where we saw last time what happened. So they don't have to teach us democracy. Now, the question of Congress, I could only thank Mahima ji for addressing and accepting that the corruption has come down in the era of Modi ji. She said, and we all know that, as rightly said by her, that if the corruption comes down, the team takes the credit.
I never said that.
He should take the credit, because transparency has come. We all know that direct benefit transfers have brought that. And what is wrong if we say that? And what is wrong if everybody, including the Congress?
Okay, let's try and stick to the theme.
Please do not misquote me.
Okay.
Please, Vishnu, prevent any misquotation.
Point taken.
I said that the Prime Minister thumps his chest. If at all he talks about corruption, he takes the credit away from all the agencies. But when it comes to the independence, the non bias attitude of these agencies, it
But they're
always
not
comes
biased,
down to,
man.
that it is the EC
Okay,
and
Mahima,
High
you
Court.
have clarified.
Those
You
people
have
don't belong to
clarified.
any
Let's come
party.
back to the
They're
topic at
independent
hand.
good people.
Let me
We
go
believe
across.
in
One
them.
sec. One sec. Let's come back to the topic at hand. Otherwise, we can. It'll be freewheeling on. Khushbu, on what the Supreme Court has, I beg your pardon, the Election Commission has actually ruled on. They found objectionable posts which were violation of the Model Code of Conduct, which bars criticizing political party based on any aspects of the private lives of leaders and workers of other parties that are not connected with public activities or based on unverified allegations or distorted facts. In analyzing or seeing those particular tweets, were there very grave violations of this? Khushbu.
See, I don't want to comment on what exactly Election Commission has looked into. See, it's a constitutional body, and it's in their power to look into that the elections are conducted in a free and fair manner without any kind of influence. And social media has a biggest influence right now. And nobody will deny about that. Now, whether they have a power to do so, they have a power to do so. The aspect where you're quoting that getting into somebody's private life or quoting or demeaning somebody the private life is something which is restricted, that very well comes under the Model Code of Conduct.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you have something to object on, you have a freedom of speech and expression wherein you talk about a policy, you talk about whatever is in the contour of somebody who's in the political realm. Like, for example, a politician acting as a politician in a political manner, or a policy that has come up, or a decision that has been made. If somebody is restricting to that and putting an opinion to that, that's my freedom of speech and expression, and I have a right to do so. But if you deviate from that, that's where the question comes in, that they are also individuals. Somebody's privacy has been hurt. And we have seen that it's not individuals who speak. We have seen how these social media platforms are being utilized for dissemination of fake news, misinformation. There are other state actors, not just Indians who are party to it, but there are other state actors who want to create uproar in our country or tension in our country. And social media platforms are being utilized for that purpose. So for all these purposes, we have an agency which is a constitutionally appointed agency, and that's where they have been looking into it. If you have an issue to that, there's always a place where you can challenge that and look into it independently, irrespective of questioning on whether do they have a power or are they somebody's puppet. I think that's something one cannot get into. You can go individually on each cases and decide on each cases, but questioning the whole exercise which a election commission is doing, which is under their power, would be a wrong start.
Pranesh, do you agree that we shouldn't be questioning the Election Commission because presumably not one person in the EC decided on this? This would have gone up the chain and then there was a decision which was taken. Do you believe that in cases like this, we don't retain our right to disagree or agree one way or the other with whatever decision the EC has taken?
I believe we retain our right, and I disagree with Ms. Jain on one point. She said it's obviously within the power of the EC. I don't think it's so obvious because the EC has powers to enforce the MCC, the Model Code of Conduct. Now, the Model Code of Conduct itself is an extra legal thing, and the power to block websites or to block specific posts or accounts and so on comes under Section 69A of the Information Technology Act. Now, this order has not been issued under 69A of the IT Act. It's an extra legal order, but I want to clarify, it's not an illegal order. It's an extra legal order. In 2019, a number of social media intermediaries jointly signed up for what they called a voluntary code of ethics with regard to Indian elections. And that is what the Election Commission has invoked in its letter to X in order to ask them to remove these tweets. Now, it is this order, this communique was passed around 12 days ago, on the 3rd and 4th, I believe, and it's only today that we're getting to find out. So that brings me to my second main point, which is that about transparency. The Election Commission, which is tasked with enforcing the Model Code of Conduct, they should be transparent about what they see as violations of the Model Code of Conduct, and they should make all their communiques and orders publicly available, which they haven't in this case. It is only through X's Global Affairs account posting this that we're coming to find out about it. And we don't know what's happening, whether the Election Commission has taken any form of action on other social media platforms, or indeed any more actions or requests to remove content on X itself. So given that, transparency is of the utmost importance, and that is what will
Pranesh,
provide...
half a second. I get the point about transparency. Khushbu, you raised your hand. Go ahead.
No, I was on the same point that when you talk about power, we do have power, and if you read the Representation of People Act, that's where they get the power, and at the same time, 354, it's an election commission which gets the power that the day election is announced. And wait, hear me out. And the day the election is announced until after the poll, till that time, they can take care of things. The aspect which you're talking about, that it is with the notified agency in India, that under IT Act, under this section is where they can issue for blocking of the website. I don't think so. This order has been with respect to blocking of the website. It is specific
to any content. It's not about blocking of websites. 69A is about blocking of any content, not just websites.
Absolutely. So I'm not on that, and I'm not saying that doesn't exist. That absolutely exists, and this is the request that has gone from Election Commission in case you don't want to abide with it. And I agree with you with respect to the voluntary coming up together of all these platforms, but I don't agree with your point on transparency part, because these are the platforms that you're talking transparency. They don't be transparent when it comes to sharing of any kind of content moderation, amplifying of content for their own personal benefits or monetary benefits. But coming to the point, see, you'll have to look into transparency has always been maintained by the government, has been maintained by the departments, has been maintained to an extent where we force these platforms to make it, hear me out, to make it public, all the requests that has come to them. If you'll see YouTube, to Google, to Meta, everybody has to issue that how many requests have gone to them for content takedown, for preservation notice.
How many does not tell me what the content is.
Pranesh, one second.
Vishnu, I would like to comment. Vishnu.
One second, Khushbu. Pranesh, make your point. I'll come to Mr. Jain in just a moment. Vineet, in just a moment.
There's a simple point. Transparency can't mean aggregate numbers of takedowns and so on, which Ms. Jain is talking about. Transparency has to mean when the government bans a book in India, they have to tell us why they are banning a book, what is objectionable about the book, what power it has to ban the book, and so on. Similarly, when the Election Commission or any other body bans anything in India, the requirement ought to be that they tell us what they are banning and why they are banning. The government actually prohibits other entities from telling us that under Rule 16 of the 69A rules. Okay, so what Ms. Jain is saying is completely off base. Now, you, Mr. Som, have been asking the panelists about the 4 tweets and whether they actually ought to have been removed or not. Now, I wonder how many of the panelists actually know the entire contents of these tweets, because those actually weren't available when you went to check today, because these orders were issued around 12 days ago. Now, there are screenshots floating around of the previous contents of these tweets, or you could use a VPN or other mechanisms to access these tweets. Now, in my opinion, 3 of the 4 are actually violations of the Model Code of Conduct. On one, I'm not as sure. But at any rate, you need to know what is actually the content of the tweet in order for citizens to independently judge whether it violates the Model Code of Conduct or not. And the Election Commission of India should tell us what not only what is prohibited, but which the Model Code of Conduct outlines, and their advisory.
So you're saying that the EC, Pranesh, has to tell you what in a specific tweet they found objectionable, and therefore describe it. That some would suggest.
I believe this is not just about tweets, not just about social media content.
In these tweets,
this is about anything any kind of action that they take under the Model Code of Conduct.
But in this case, if they want a tweet to be removed because in their wisdom it fails the Model Code of Conduct, then why would they necessarily want to describe it? They would just want to take it down. You and I can debate whether that should be the case.
Because many things in India are banned. Many books are banned. Yet, we need to know what the book that is banned is What
All right.
is
So a way
objectionable
has to
about
be
it,
found
and
to
so on. You
explain to
can't
people
just,
why
the
exactly
government
you're...
does not have a
please?
Vineet, go ahead.
Yeah. So, Vishnu, my learned friend Pranesh has to understand this country. And one thing more is that we are 140 crore people. Don't challenge the wisdom of 100 crore people. And don't challenge an EC which has been free and fair for decades. 1, 2, 3, 7 decades. Number 3, this is an excellent case of tech bullying. A big tech trying to bully the people here by using words and trying to create a narration that the entire EC is not fair. Sir, we don't take this lying down. We have belief in the EC. They have been very fair. X has banned or censored Trump. Do you think they are fair enough by doing that? This is not China. We don't do censorship. Had that been the case, then we should ask the big tech companies to tell. Let me ask you, if you talk about transparency, let us both join and ask them, what is their policy of followers? What is their policy of likes? Do they tell you where do they get the fake followers? Why don't you come out and ban those people who are fabulous? What is about the click farms? You know that. Don't create a fake narration here. We are not in 2010 where we will take the narrations. We will like to expose people like you who get briefs from this big tech, try to create narration about our country, try to create narration about the institutions of this country. Had that been the case, then why do you think that state governments have different government? If that was the case. And sir, one more thing. Please tell me, which country in the world allows this kind of discussion? Please tell me, can you do this in these countries? And also ask the sponsors of your think tank, sir. If there was a transparency, let us know.
I just wanted to...
Why don't they have to put the tax of sponsor?
All right, Vineet, you made your point.
So let me one more thing. No, Vishnu, let me tell you. Now, this is a narration creation by people with a deliberate intention to demean the EC and insult 140 crore Indians. We will not tolerate this, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. You made that point very forcefully.
Let me complete this direct question, sir.
No, you have. Can I just ask, Mahima? I'm running out of time.
That cannot be bent. Sir, if you really have problem with
Vineet, this is the way it works. I'm requesting you to just pause. You made your point very effectively.
Don't insult 140 crore
All right,
people.
Mahima, let me come to you next.
By laughing like this, you are actually making a mockery for yourself, sir.
Right, Vineet, can I ask a question on my show?
This country is not a banana republic. We don't follow this.
Vineet, if I can just ask a question on my own show, fully understanding that you have fully made your point. Mahima, the point is this, and I think the point that Vineet is trying to make is that we need to be in control of what social media platforms do in India. And here's a statement by Rajiv Chandrasekhar, who said, the minister, the shift was really simple. We defined the laws, defined the rules, and we have said that there is zero tolerance to any non-compliance with Indian laws. You don't like the law, don't operate in India. There is very little wiggle room. This is how the government actually sees this entire issue. So shouldn't we be interpreting this entire debate through the prism of our law, which has been fairly clearly established?
I hope you'll allow me to uninterruptedly complete.
You've got 1 minute and then I need to wrap. I will not interrupt you for 1 minute.
Sure. I'm thankful to BJP spokesperson, first of all, that he reminded us that we are not China, because China and Russia is, I think, Mr. Modi's role model and their government's role model, and they seem to be heading our country that way. When we say that the elections are free and fair in this country, that's what we've been questioning. It is this government that has been undermining the authority and authenticity of all our institutions. You see, 140 crore Indians are questioning today, why are elected CMs being put behind bars? Why did you impose this unconstitutional electoral bond scheme on us through an imposed money bill for all these years? And today, you see, you are questioning, you are asking me whether we are saying EC is fair or not. Yes, we are saying, because EC denied us opposition parties an appointment for good 6 months. Just weeks ago, I think a week ago, we went to the EC questioning how the government could ban independent players on YouTube.
Okay.
But you see, when we come to election commissioner appointments, as I was indicating earlier, this government, it was questioned just weeks ago how this government undermined the Supreme Court's authority when it had said that the CJI would be on that panel. It also undermined the authority of the Supreme Court and held in that order that, they just bring out 200 names one night before, and few hours before they bring out 6 names, out of which they have to choose.
Mahima, interrupting because your minute is over and I am out of time on this, but you raised larger questions on the Election Commission, debatable points over there. Vineet, out of time on this. I do need to take a break.